I've got a riverfront property just outside of Lincoln City, Oregon, just down the river from Kernville, Oregon, as well in Lincoln County. So in this video, I'm going to break down this listing. I'm going to talk about big things like access, how you can get to this property, talk a little bit more about the target audience, and answer some of those common questions that we get here at Wilco Land. What we do at Wilco Land, we buy and sell raw vacant land. Our goal is to focus on unique and epic properties. This one's definitely going to fit the bill. It's got an interesting history to it as well. You can see this is a really good shot of the property right there, looking at it from across the river. So, this park, this is Bear Park. This is one way to access the property actually from the river. There is a public boat launch right here, and our property is located like right about there. So if we zoom in, we're right on the riverbank, right about there. And I'll pull all this up here on maps. I'm going to show you satellite imagery. I'm going to show you the county map. There's a road behind the property too, or at least a platted one. I have heard hearsay that the road does get all the way there, but I can't back that up. I've never been to the property. It's a lot of hearsay. So that's one big thing I'll talk about is talking about access to this property. So just quick, starting this video off with a quick disclaimer. This isn't legal advice. This isn't real estate advice. I'm simply sharing my thoughts and opinions on this property with you. You as a buyer, ultimately at the end of the day, are going to have to do your own due diligence and make sure this is going to be the right fit for you. We sell all of our properties as is here at Wilco Land. We are here to help you out, try to answer some of your higher level questions, but and I'll do that in this video as well. So just talking about location here. I want to pull it up on a map here. Here's Kernville, Oregon, Lincoln City, Lincoln Beach. And if we zoom in here, you've got some campgrounds here, things like that, right? RV resorts, campgrounds, and then you've got Bear Park basically right across the river. Like I said, our property is just over here to the west of Bear Park if you go across the river. So when we talk about access to this property, I want to talk about the first, for me, the easiest access route, and maybe the road does go back there to this property, but Itchwit Park here, or Bear Park, otherwise known as, you can access the river right there. And you are only, if you go upstream, you could paddle upstream 400 yards, right? You're not very far upstream to get to our property, right? And there's more private ownership across the river. You can see that here. And you can see south of Monon Road. You can't see it on satellite imagery because it is tucked underneath the trees. But you can see south of Monon Road does get back to this property, right? Or supposedly it gets back to this property. Okay. I'll pull it up here on satellite imagery too. And I want to show you Lincoln County's map here. So this is south of Monon Road. Again, they have all this land platted and developed right here. I'm not going to stick my neck out and guarantee this access route. You as a buyer can get on south of Monon Road and see how far you can make it, right? There's plenty of development over here. I'll pull it up on satellite imagery on Google Earth, and you could take south of Monon Road theoretically all the way to the property. How is it physically when you're there? I don't have those answers, but it is a platted and showing up as a county road here on Lincoln County's GIS system. And here's a subject property I'm referring to. It's a 0.43 acre or a half an acre. It's going to show up as different acreage in different databases. These are GIS maps, but whatever the case may be, we're talking about a half an acre of recreational land on the Siletz River. Who's buying this property? Somebody who wants to fish, somebody who wants a tree fort, a campground, something kind of special and unique on the river. And it's priced that way, quite frankly. So let's zoom in a little bit again on this property. And this is a lot we own. It shows us 0.46 acres on this map. Whatever, we're splitting hairs for that. And again, you see south of Monon Road right there. I wanted to pull up GIS maps or Google Earth, again, talking about this property. There is some good space here. There's high ground up here away from the river. It is a gentle slope upwards right there. Could you put a dock in? You'd have to talk to the state about that. The correct parties about putting a dock in. I haven't done any of that due diligence myself. We do sell a lot of land like this. Why do people buy it? They want their own private fishing site, tree forts, like I said, campground, just things like that, right? They're using it for recreation, even day use. So here's Bear Park that I've been referring to, and here's a nice summer picture from the park. And again, you can access a river right there and get up to our property. My favorite app to use for land viewings is going to be Onyx Maps. I have the private land ownership layer on this map right now. And so you can access this property right here. You can go up to our property, and these lines should theoretically show up when you go look at the property. Okay, if you have Onyx Hunt going and you have the private land ownership for Oregon, you should be able to see that this private ownership's right there. Okay, and so Backing up, going back to the satellite imagery here, we talked about how can we see this road? Like it almost, it's hard to decipher. Let's keep going along this riverbank. You can see here's our first development. Here's a dock somebody put in the water. So they got approval for a dock, right? That's interesting, right? We can see what other people are doing. It's not a perfect science, but that gives you an idea what could be possible with the property that we're selling. And here's a home or a trailer or a camper. There's some sort of setup here. So we know a Monon Road gets at least, let's measure this out. We know a Monon Road is getting at least 700 yards or less than a half a mile from the property. I don't know how far it goes here, but we know you can get to right here on a Monon Road. So that's pretty interesting data to understand there. And so I'm going to do a little bit of a time lapse here on Google Earth just to see if we can see something different on the road. Again, here's that structure. Here's that boat launch. I mean, you can't even see the road this way. So, that tells me that the tree canopy is covering up the road essentially. So let's see if we can find a year where the road looks better. Kind of looks like there might be something that hugs that line. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not guaranteeing access on this property. You as the buyer, you can go explore on a Monon Road, see how far you can get on it, understand that a little bit better. But looks like back in 2005 that residence or that property was not there. So that residence was recently developed between 2005 and 2011. That dock was put in even later than that, it looks like. You can learn a lot from satellite imagery. Actually, man, it looks like there's something right there in 2005, which is kind of interesting. It looks like it has been tucked away back there for a while. Yeah, even later imagery, it looks like there is that little kind of structure right there. This is pretty old imagery right here, but somebody logged this, so maybe that's an old logging road south of Monon Road, but somebody logged this. So, access is kind of interesting here. We can see that tree cover coming back. So somebody did log that section at one point, and it's definitely regrown since. It's a pretty lush area back there. That's obviously pretty speculative, that south of Monon Road access. I guess theoretically, if that's a legal county road, access road, you could develop that road yourself if you have the tools, if you have the money, the skill set to put that in and access your property this way. That's an opportunity. But again, what we're advertising here is a recreational property. We're selling this thing as is. I can't guarantee what you can and cannot do on the property, but it's priced as a recreational lot. Do your own due diligence. We know we can access a property from the river. We do sell a lot of land like that. There will be people interested in purely recreational land investment with maybe speculative long-term value to it, right? Or it's a project you acquire better access to. You get a dock put in. You get some sort of tree fort up there. You know what I mean? So our customers get really creative with these type of properties. People aren't looking for $100,000 buildable property on the river. They want something cheap, something they can play with, and that fits what their budget can handle. So that's what I have to share on this property. You're welcome to go float out to the property or try to access it on South of Monon Road. Be careful with your viewings. Obviously, these can be dangerous, and you don't know what you're getting into with these land viewings. So just a word of caution there. And get with us if you have questions. I do have some other properties on the homepage here. We are in the business of selling land. So if you see something you like, give us a call. If you have questions, reach out to us. You can reach us here at 605-299-5553. Again, my name is Miles McLaughlin here with Wilco Land. Thanks for tuning into this video.